I got sent a request about heavyweight contender. I was going to use the word prospect, but I'd better not, given the fact that he's 50 years old. Bronco Billy, right? He's a guy I've been aware of for a little while. I know he was in some average to decent fights back in the 90s and is trying to make somewhat of a comeback more recently. He's been the talk of discussions on forums, obviously, because he's on a massive KO winning streak, calling everyone out. People, obviously, given the fact that he's 50, saying maybe he should fight Shannon Briggs, maybe he should fight Roy Jones Jr., maybe he should fight Tony Thompson, etc. So I thought it was an interesting discussion, and I'm always keen to do requests. You know, if people want to hear me talk about a certain subject, I do my best to put some thoughts down, and I'm happy to oblige. So on that note, if you want me to discuss something, if you're interested in hearing my thoughts, please comment on one of my videos or drop me an email, boxinggossip@googlemail.com. I'm keen to keep expanding the channel, and I think taking requests and discussing, debating certain topics is the best way to do it. Now, with regard to Billy Wright, this video is not going to maybe win me many fans, because I appreciate that he may well be a popular figure. But I have to say that this guy is, in my opinion, absolutely woeful, and is not someone who I would consider one of the top 50 heavyweights. Obviously that goes without saying, given the fact that he's in horrible physical condition, given the fact that he's 50 years old, etc. So maybe I'm being harsh with him, but the guy's going round, I heard him saying that he could knock out any heavyweight currently alive on the planet. You know, he wants one of the big names, he wants a title fight, etc. So just to give a bit more background on him, and I'll just move the camera slightly so I can pull up BoxRec. As I say, 50 years old, born in 1964. He's had 51 fights, 47 wins, 4 losses. Now, of the 47 wins, 38 have come by way of KO, so a very high knockout perspective. And as I understand it, he has knocked out everyone he has faced since his comeback in 2011. That's actually a pretty good thing, because if you look at him, you wouldn't back this guy's chance of winning many fights by unanimous decision. Very, very heavy indeed. You know, I watched him fight Chauncey Welliver, and that was... It was like watching two hippopotamuses going at it, like the amount of body fat in the ring that night. So his 4 losses are all by KO. This is a guy who has never, in a 51 fight professional career, gone past the 8th round. He's only even been 8 once, and that was in a successful fight again in 1999. So he hasn't been 8 rounds for 16 years. I don't believe he's even been 6 rounds for 7-8 years. So we're talking about a guy who ends his fights very, very early. His losses come whenever he stepped up in opposition, even be it that was back in the 90s. So he got stopped in 1 round by Tony Tucker, stopped in 5 rounds by Franz Botha, stopped in 2 rounds by Michael Mora, and he got stopped early on in his career by a guy with a 6-4 record called Dave Yonko. That would suggest, you know, looking at the guy's record, he's never been beyond 8, and he's been stopped 4 times. To me, that would suggest he's highly, highly beatable. In terms of the names he's been beating since his comeback, I've already mentioned Chauncey Welliver. He is probably the pick of the opposition who Billy Wright has beaten since his comeback, which kind of says it all. In terms of Billy Wright as a fighter, he's 6'4", obviously fat, powerfully built, however you want to phrase it. He's a power puncher. You know, the guy can hit, the guy can hurt his opposition. That's the fact of the matter. In terms of the positives about him, he's a guy who goes for the close. He's a guy who tries to throw punches in bunches. He's got combination punching. I like the fact that he goes to the body. Negatives. His movement is truly terrible. He makes David Price look like Floyd Mayweather. That's not a surprise, given that he's 50 years old and very overweight, but we're talking about a very stationary, plodding guy. No real jab at the minute to speak of. You know, fights at a very slow pace. Now, I think what's telling is the level of opposition he's maybe been fighting against recently, because his punches to the eye, they do not look powerful. He's obviously heavy-handed, but there's no sort of snap to his punches. And I think something to do with that is the terrifying lack of hand speed that he has. His punches are so slow and so predictable that you could see an elite level heavyweight could just, move around him. I mean, in my opinion, I think the first time this guy fights anyone even at fringe level, he gets destroyed. A sophisticated boxer will outmove him, will be able to out-jab him. He won't be able to land on a sophisticated boxer. He's just too slow. He's too predictable. He's too slow. And I think once he fights someone even top 50 level, we'll find out that his punching power isn't that great. Like, I'll throw out a few names of guys I picked to beat him. I think Malik Scott would absolutely school him and make him quit as the fight got later on. I think Tony Thompson and Salmon Briggs would knock him out. I really do. I think, UK scene, someone like Hughie Fury would box rings around him and stop him. I think guys like David Price, Derek Chisora would be miles too good for him. So it's a fun story. We've got a guy here on a crazy KO streak, who hasn't lost since 1999 or 1998. We've got a guy who's got 50 pro fights in the heavyweight division, calling everyone out. But I worry for him. I wonder if he steps up the level of opposition to the next level, if he's going to get very, very hurt. He's too stationary, no jab, no movement, no defence. And, quite frankly, I'd back myself to avoid some of his punches, let alone an elusive A-level fighter. Let me know your thoughts. Am I being a bit harsh? Have I missed something? Is this guy the guy who is going to beat Vladimir Klitschko? Thanks for watching.